So what's ahead for investigators examining the terror attack in Manchester, England, where 22 people were killed and 6 injured Monday night at this Ariana Grande concert? We're joined now by Chris Copeland, Director of Homeland Security and Cybercrime at Tarleton State University in Fort Worth. Chris, how do you see this?
What you're going to see are investigators looking at how the device was made, what information they can pull from that, tracking that back through, were parts purchased? If so, where were they purchased? Who were they purchased by? Trying to find all the links that they can to see how far this will go in terms of the number of people involved.
All right. So ultimately, tracking social media, right? Internet activity, I presume, will be part of this?
Oh, yes. Social media, internet activity, phone calls in and out of the countries will be monitored very heavily.
All right. So on Tuesday, it was ISIS came out and claimed that it was one of their folks. There's no proof of that typically, and they usually issue a statement like that, right? But that's something I assume investigators will look at either way.
Of course. The natural thing to say is, of course, it's ISIS. But at the same time, with lone wolf attacks, especially suicide bombs, there's no way of knowing that for certain unless we find some sort of pre-written note or suicide notification, claiming that they're doing this on behalf of the Islamic State. So, yeah, again, ISIS loves to take claim where it can, but at the same time, there's no way of verifying that for certain.
We're speaking with Chris Copeland, Director for Homeland Security and Cybercrime at Tarleton State University in Fort Worth, Texas, and we're talking about what investigators are looking at into this terror attack in Manchester, England. We do seem to notice, right, that dates matter to terrorists.
Yes, dates do matter to terrorists. They love to do things in response to actions. They love to do things in memorial to action. The anniversary of a bombing, or the anniversary of a missile attack, or the anniversary of people being killed or arrested, it does matter.
All right, so I think yesterday was the 4-year anniversary of that British soldier who was murdered in the streets. Should British authorities have been more aware, or when it comes to an incident like this, is it impossible to stop?
Yes, it's almost impossible to stop because of the reactive nature of law enforcement and security forces on the ground. At the same time, being more aware of a specific, there's only 366 possible days in a year, 365 on the normal. So it's very difficult to determine which day is going to be of importance to a lone wolf attacker.
Yeah.
This could have very easily been in response to something else. It's very hard to process what's going on in the mind of somebody who's willing to do this when rational thought is no longer an option.
Right. All right. So what about concert venues going forward? If we hadn't thought about that already, right?
We have, and I can guarantee you there was security at this concert venue. It's just that there's always going to be a vulnerability, and you can't protect all vulnerabilities because some of them you don't know are vulnerabilities until it's too late. In this particular instance, the bomb went off outside the venue. It actually went off at the exit. So timing was everything. At least it didn't go off inside. That would have been much, much worse. And honestly, looking at the way the venue was sort of laid out and the way that the attack was carried out, it was not very well orchestrated. Had it been better coordinated, and this is what leads it to probably be a lone wolf attack, unfortunately the death count would have been much higher.
Right.
And that's the unfortunate numbers aspect to this cat and mouse game between security and terrorists, is that it is all about a numbers game, and that takes away the humanity of it.
Thanks, Chris. Chris Copeland, Director of Homeland Security and Cybercrime at Tarleton State University in Fort Worth, Texas. It's 20 minutes now in front of the hour on This Morning, America's First News.